You'd be so nice to come into. It's a nice way to enter. Welcome to worship on, I am so glad to be able to say, on the final day of 2019's hellaciously hot summer. On this, the eve of the autumnal equinox, has there been a year when we have more anxiously awaited autumn's arrival? Now's the summer of our long, hot discontent, growing within ours glorious, cooling autumn. Of course, on yet another day when the temperature will approach 90 degrees, expecting autumn to bring its cooling beauty is, we must admit, something of an act of faith. Surely fall won't let us down. Will it? Today, with words and images and with the best music available in any service in Charlotte, we beckon, we urge, we plead for autumn's arrival. Mindful that all year we're attending to our theme, What We Hold Most Dear, exploring and integrating our individual and collective spirituality. Today we consider our connection to and our disconnection from a natural rhythm. We come together to remind ourselves yet again that we are not isolated beings, but connected to each other, to this community, and to the pulsing spirit of life that animates all living things. Welcome to our guests. Welcome to those who know this place as your spiritual home. As we prepare to sing, pause to make sure that your phone is silenced, and then greet someone around you with a cool greeting.
Let this light remind us of the sacred flame of life that blazes within, constant yet ever-changing, burning yet never consumed. O inner light of soul and spirit, lead our minds to greater understanding. Lead our hearts to love more fully, and lead our hands to create justice.
Our first reading is by a contemporary U.S. poet, Ross Gay, an Ohio native who now teaches at Indiana University. I discovered this poem in Camille Dungy's wonderful anthology, Black Nature, 4 Centuries of African American Nature Poetry. It's entitled, Thank You. If you find yourself half naked and barefoot in the frosty grass, hearing again the earth's great sonorous moan that says, you are the heir of the now and gone, that says all you love will turn to dust, and we'll meet you there. Do not raise your fist. Do not raise your small voice against it. And do not take cover. Instead, curl your toes into the grass. Watch the cloud ascending from your lips. Walk through the garden's dormant splendor. Say only, thank you. Thank you.
This is a poem by Carolyn Locke called What Else? From the Place We Become. The way the trees empty themselves of leaves, let drop their ponderous fruit, the way the turtle abandons the sun-warmed log, the way even the late blooming aster succumbs to the power of frost. This is not a new story. Still, on this morning, the hollowness of the season startles, filling the rooms of your house, filling the world with impossible light, improbable hope. And so, what else can you do but let yourself be broken and emptied? What else is there but waiting in the autumn sun?
Hard to believe you're getting credit for attending a service, right? We need to up the cover charge. In the novel Zorba, the Greek Nikos Kazantzakis bookish narrator recalls, I remember one morning when I discovered a cocoon in the back of a tree just as a butterfly was making a hole in its case and preparing to come out. I waited a while, but it was too long appearing, and I was impatient. I bent over it and breathed on it to warm it. I warmed it as quickly as I could, and the miracle began to happen before my eyes. Faster than life. The case opened, the butterfly started slowly crawling out, and I shall never forget my horror when I saw how its wings were folded back and crumpled. The wretched butterfly tried with its whole trembling body to unfold them. Bending over it, I tried to help with my breath in vain. He continues in recognition and in remorse. It needed to be hatched out patiently. And the unfolding of the wings should be a gradual process in the sun. Now, it was too late. My breath had forced the butterfly to appear all crumpled before its time. It struggled desperately, and a few seconds later, died in the palm of my hand. He confesses that little body is, I do believe, the greatest weight I have on my conscience, for I realize today that it is a mortal sin to violate the great laws of nature. We should not hurry. We should not be impatient, but we should confidently obey the eternal rhythm. The eternal rhythm, a natural rhythm. I recently came across Duke University Islamic scholar Omid Safi's delightful description of the eternal rhythm, a natural order of things in the season soon upon us. He wrote, I've been blessed to live in places where the time of fall is magical. In upstate New York, North Carolina, and Iran, I've gotten to see streets paved gold and red with leaves crunching under my feet. I remember, he continues, learning in a botany course about the reason that a deciduous tree's leaves turn color. The reasoning astonished me then, and I have since come to see more and more spiritual wisdom in it as I enter the autumn of my own life. Leaves are usually green because of chlorophyll. It is, along with sunshine, the key ingredient in the life-producing process of photosynthesis. The hidden secret of fall, Safi writes, the leaves don't actually turn colors. With the winter season coming and the process of photosynthesis being without the key ingredients of warmth and sunshine, trees begin to break down chlorophyll. With the green gone, the other colors that have been there all along, the magical reds, golds, and oranges begin to express themselves. Then Safi orders his own sort of spiritual wisdom. That's the secret. The death of what has been masking the colors inside. The beauty that has been there all along. And we, as human beings, he concludes, are like this. It's such a beauty-filled image. The natural rhythm calling forth the beauty that is within each of us. A beauty emerging in its own time. just like a butterfly slowly summoned by the warming sun, just like leaves gradually pulling back their green veils to reveal their true colors. Wouldn't our lives be more beautiful if somehow we could figure out how to be more attentive to the natural rhythm? To let things happen in a way consistent with the eternal rhythm. Well, while that is most assuredly the case, we know it's not the whole story. The kaleidoscopic splendor of butterflies and autumn leaves is only part of the natural rhythm, right? A recent New Yorker cartoon told the bigger story. In it, a butterfly hovers over a leaf, addressing a caterpillar who is looking up. Just think of it, Charles. Yesterday I was a caterpillar, and tomorrow I'll be dead. It's a truth more poetically and gently told by Emily Jungmin Yoon, who writes, I read a Korean poem with the line, "Today you are the youngest you will ever be." But, Yoon counters, today I'm the oldest I've ever been. And that is the natural rhythm of things, too. Woven in with beauty and becoming, this soon-to-be season reminds us that a natural rhythm includes flowering, fruit, harvest, and dormancy, death, and then flowering, flourishing all over again. The leaves don't just go from green to gold. The leaves go from golden to gone. Their momentary soaring ending as mulch, nourishment for new life. Buddhist Pema Chodron says of things, they come together and they fall apart. They come together again and fall apart again. It's just like that. And not just it. We're just like that, coming together and then falling apart. Flourishing and then floundering. Soaring and then struggling to make it through one more day. Weeping and whistling, often in the same day. Certainly, I assure you, certainly in the same challenging year. But of course, the seduction of capitalism's core mindset tempts us to believe that it is possible to have more and more and more without any need for relinquishment or replenishing. To defy a natural rhythm with our consumerist consumption, with our bigger and our better. To trust politicians of varying persuasions promising to make us ever more prosperous, as if we should just naturally expect it all to keep coming together and never falling apart. Ironically, that mindset syncs quite well with 19th century liberalism's tenet of onward and upward forever. And with liberal religion's robust embrace of human potential in ways that delude us into imagining that we are the one species able to defy the natural order. Montana-based writer Ann Derrick Galat reminds us of one of the implications of our defiance. In a dystopian warning, she writes of autumn, So enjoy it while it lasts, because the catch is it'll soon be gone forever. Scientists have long warned that climate change is making autumn and its counterpart spring slowly disappear. Much of the country has already noticed its effects, from experiencing an unseasonably early fall heat wave, can you imagine? To the delay of changing colors in the trees. The sad truth, she writes, is that even for a millennial, autumn days today don't match the crisp, chilly ones of our youth. And isn't that just what our youth were trying to tell us on this past Friday? A natural order. The eternal rhythm commends, well, it commends humility. Humility. It comes from the Latin word humus, meaning of the earth, and is the root for the word human. Humility tempers our tendency to defy a natural order, invites us to sometimes insist that we remember we humans are not above the earth, but rather of the earth. Just like a butterfly artificially induced to emerge too rapidly from its cocoon, we too, by losing touch with humility, can do deep harm, trying to have lives and relationships and families and congregations and communities and societies with all coming together and no falling apart, all gain and no relinquishment, all health and no setbacks, all increase and no loss, all holding on and no letting go. Pema Chodron suggests a more natural rhythm. Let there be room for all of this to happen. Room for grief, for relief, for misery, for joy. Because, of course, grief and relief and misery and joy are a part of the natural rhythm, alongside growth and decay and loving and losing and loving. You are beautiful. We are beautiful. Not just despite our fragility, but sometimes even because of our fragility. We can rage and complain, feel put upon and singled out whenever the natural rhythm of things means we're the ones falling apart. We're the ones having to let go. We're the ones experiencing our own diminishment. And of course, that's what we do. Or at least I know that's what I do too often. Rage and complain. Wendell Berry offers a spiritual summons. A deeply, even idealistically spiritual summons, one to which we can aspire even if we won't ever fully realize it. It is his prayer. When I rise up, let me rise up joyful, like a bird. When I fall, let me fall without regret, like like a leaf.
Welcome. We're happy you're here with us today in this room or joining us remotely. We're pleased to have guests with us. Our members would like to greet you personally following the service. So if you're visiting, will you please raise your hand and keep it up? Members, take note of guests seated near you. After the service, invite them to join you for coffee and conversation in Freeman Hall. Should it enhance your experience of future services, we offer large print orders of service, personal hearing assistance devices, and we have an elevator as well. If you'd like to learn more about us, please fill out a yellow card and place it in an offering basket later in the service. Members with a life event to share can do so on the reverse side of the card. The cards and offering envelopes are on the clipboards at the end of the rows. Please begin passing them down now. Visitors interested in hearing about how to become a member can talk to our membership coordinator, Kelly Green. Her contact information is on the back of your order. Again, to each of you, welcome. Good morning. I'm Melissa Schropp, and my husband Greg and I have been attending here since 1995. Despite the lush greens of summer yielding to the brown, crackling decay of fall, this time of year has always seemed to me to be more about the beginnings of things. A new school year, a clean slate, a blank notebook filled with pages waiting to be filled. Even after I left my own school years behind, I've made several major changes during this time of year, moving to Pennsylvania as a new bride and to North Carolina the following fall. Later, once our kids were in school, fall again became a time of gearing up, in contrast to nature's winding down. As a kid, fall was not my favorite season, though it is now. I was always a summer girl, bare feet, riding bikes, running through sprinklers, popsicles, mini golf, Marco Polo in the pool, buzzing cicadas. Fall meant the loss of those lazy, meandering summer days. Back to the confines of school, the imposed structure, the many hoops to jump through. If summer feels like childhood freedom, then fall is when you have to grow up. I see the same rhythms now with my own kids, each fall imposing on them new challenges, harder tasks, and ever-increasing expectations. But there is also anticipation and excitement. Countering this loss of freedom, there are new roles. Magically, in September, you get promoted to a kindergartner, a 7th grader, a senior. This year, my youngest daughter is a freshman in high school, my middle daughter a sophomore, and my son is a freshman in college, no longer living at home. When he started kindergarten, I lamented the ending of his sweet preschool years. And when he began middle school, I was loath to let go of my elementary age son. And when he graduated high school, decided to test out his new adulthood by taking a year to travel in Europe, I dreaded his departure, and I wished I could delay all this growing up. Despite the obvious truth I'd been living with all along, that each subsequent age of my children has offered up new and better delights, deeper connections, and slowly, imperceptibly, the heavy demands of parenthood are lightened. Who would go back? It only gets better, and your kids only get more interesting to spend time with. Of course, all this coincides with them wishing to spend time with not you. My kids all say that I am too sentimental, but I wasn't always. When you have more life ahead of you than behind, there's not much to dwell on back there. There is only forging ahead, driven by dreams and imagination. That's where they are. But when you have more life behind you than ahead, it's too easy to wander into the rooms of your past, and wish the forging ahead would slow down, because the road ahead is only getting shorter and will eventually run out. Suddenly, you're wanting to drive below the speed limit. The poet Rumi says, "Be like a tree and let the dead leaves drop." It's hard not to feel some regret when you look back on years that sped by too quickly and think of all you'd intended to do but didn't, or what you did do that you wish you hadn't. But those years are like leaves. They must drop away. And after a time of rest and reflection, the branches give you new material to work with. While still parenting teens, I am now learning to parent a grown-up. Letting go means respecting their right to choose the shape of their life and accepting your diminished role in it. Hearing the palpable joy in my son's voice as he describes his new life in Charleston, how he's loving school, loving his roommates, and now loving his new job, is the very best gift. I miss him terribly, but I don't wish he was anywhere else. He's exactly where he needs to be. Thank you.
I was very glad to be a part yesterday of the Focus 2020 gathering, the kickoff of our congregation's exploration of our name. I felt the energy in the room, and then when I retreated to my office as you all broke into small groups, the energy in the building was palpable. And I very much enjoyed coming back together and hearing your reflections. If you missed out on this opportunity, I'm happy to say there's another chance today at 1 o'clock here in the sanctuary. So come back into this room by 1 o'clock without your coffee, and we will continue the process. In that regard, what a treat it is to welcome again to this space my friend, my brother, my cousin, Leon Spencer, Senior and Junior. Leon, thank you so much for your willingness to be here and to serve as our consultant in this process. Many of you know and share in my respect for Leon, who served a stint as the interim co-president of our Unitarian Universalist Association and has been one of the great leaders in this region and nationally for Unitarian Universalism. You honor us with your presence here today and in this process. Thank you very much. So you would think today might be enough, but not if you are a part of this congregation. There's even more music this very week. A very special concert on this Friday evening. There's information about that in your order. You don't want to miss this. Come back here on Friday, share in a potluck before, and then we'll come in here to hear some remarkable music on Friday evening. Many other ways to be involved in the life of this congregation, just a few of which you'll find in your order, many more of which you will find in our electronic newsletter, Currents. I have awaited this day with great excitement. The return of the great jazz drummer, Ocie Davis, to this space. Some of you have heard Ocie here and around town. Ocie is a native of Los Angeles. He was telling me during the break that he was playing, and some guy named Marsalis, Wynton Marsalis, heard him play and said, "You should check out my Pops program in New Orleans." And because of that, Ocie went to the great jazz program at UNO, stuck around in New Orleans, and to our very good fortune, ended up in Charlotte, but not before playing with some of the greats, Donald Harrison, touring Europe with Donald Harrison, and Nicholas Payton, and Terence Blanchard, and on with some of the greats in jazz. And many of you also know that Ocie and his wife, Lonnie, came here and started Jazz Arts Charlotte, an education program and performance program. What a great gift to Charlotte. We needed that gift. This city of button-down uptightness needed Jazz Arts Charlotte. Ocie, thank you so much for bringing your music to this town, for bringing your teaching to this town, for all that you and Lonnie have gifted us with. We are far the better to have you among us, and we hope you will stick around. And among the gifts you've brought are two great players. Will you introduce these guys for us, please?
It would be my pleasure. Thank you, Jay. First of all, thank you to John and Jay for inviting us this morning. So happy to be here, honored to be here, as a matter of fact. I don't want to hold you up, but I was speaking to a gentleman in between sets on the break, and we were talking about the music, and asked had we ever played together. This is like our third time playing together, and it's our first time playing this music. And it just reminded me our role and how important it is for us to listen to each other, to support each other. And that is the foundation of jazz music, and it's all about inclusivity and not caring where you're from, how old you are, what color you are, your religion, sexual orientation. It's all about your intent and the integrity in which you bring to the music and your value that you have within yourself towards the music. So not only does this country, but I think the world could use more of that. So I think as jazz musicians, I think we represent the good of the possibilities of the world. So with that said, support your local jazz musician. Thank you. These two gentlemen here, Charlotte is so lucky and fortunate to have them. They're recent transplants. From Racine, Wisconsin, Mr. Mike Gudbhar. Originally from the Carolinas, by way of Boston and whatnot. He has just recently moved here a couple of years ago. Spent 10 years in Shanghai, China. And we're so lucky to have him back. He's taken all the gigs and the jobs in Charlotte, by the way. But please welcome Mr. Sean Higgins. Remember that name. Thank you for having us. We got one more selection before the finale. I hope you enjoy this beautiful ballad, Autumn Nocturne.
Will you please join me in a responsive prayer? Earth, teach me stillness. Earth, teach me suffering. Earth, teach me humility. Earth, teach me caring. Earth, teach me courage. Earth, teach me limitation. Earth, teach me freedom. Teach me resignation. Earth, teach me regeneration. Earth, teach me to forget myself. Earth, teach me to remember kindness. We give to remind ourselves how many gifts we have to offer. We give to remember that we are part of something bigger than ourselves. We give because we believe in music and sacred space. We give with the faith that together we have enough. We'll now pass the offering baskets.
Our affirmation is the opportunity for us to say together what we hold most dear. The words we're using this month come from within our tradition, from a reading in the back of our gray hymnal. I invite you to rise in body and or spirit and join me as we affirm our faith together. May Parker Palmer, in reflecting on autumn, refers to himself as a professional melancholic. A professional melancholic. But he comes around to this. Today, at age 76, as I weather the autumn of my own life, I find nature a trustworthy guide. It's easy to fixate on everything that goes to ground as time goes by. The disintegration of a relationship, the disappearance of good work, well done, the diminishment of a sense of purpose and meaning. But as I've come to understand that life composts and seeds as autumn does the earth, I've seen how possibility gets planted in us, even in the most difficult times. Well, who knows, really? Perhaps just maybe at the final end of all of the falling apart, we'll all find our place in that number. Please be seated.